He's in the Kojima closet.
Oh my god.
Get in there.
Get in there, Kojima. Get your fucking ass working on Metal Gear, god damn it.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Press X, the podcast. It is the week of May the 20-something, 2018, but this is episode 18 in the year 18. I'm Paul. Alongside me, I have James Paley.
Hello.
And back again, still not dead, it's Trevor Houston.
Heyo, how's everybody doing?
Oh boy. It has been a week, Trev. It has been a week.
A bit of a whirlwind there for you, Paul. A bit of a whirlwind.
Well, you could say that. As it turns out, the internet is not very kind if you shit all over a game that deserves it.
What?
Yeah.
The fuck you said?
Get out. What? That's a kind place. There's no way they could be mean.
I've actually got some hard, cold content that backs up my statement there. We'll get to that eventually. Of course, what we're talking about is my State of Decay 2 review, which was, to steal James's quotation, unkind but fair. For those who missed it, I gave it a 40, which on the COG scale is currently below average. It is far from the worst game that's ever been made, but it is not good, guys. It is not good.
40 is just about death for a game. Like, when a game averages 40 on Metacritic, like, studios get shut down. I mean, pack up your bags. That game is just a hot bowl of turd. And yeah, no. There's nothing good about a 40 score. Nothing good about a 40.
So here's the thing, though. The Metacritic score on this baby is currently, or last time I looked, was in the upper 60s? And I don't know what game those people were playing, but it is a broken, buggy mess that, even if it was not broken, would be completely generic and hardly worth playing.
Ouch.
Wow. Tell us how you really feel.
Well, maybe I'll just go on here. I think it does have some redeeming factors that maybe they should have, developed a little bit more. There's some pretty cool base building and resource management aspects to the game. Unfortunately, to get to those things, you've got to do a bunch of really repetitive and boring nonsense that, I just didn't want to do it. There was nothing really to connect you to the world. The zombies aren't scary. The combat kind of sucks. And beyond that, it is super duper broken. I'll link our YouTube review in the description. But just know that all the bugs in that video, I did not have to go searching for them. Like, they are all over my footage that I captured. It was this, pick which bug I wanted to show, basically.
Now, has there been, a big update since the review? We've seen it time and time again that that publishers and developers, they pump out these massive day one updates. Do you know if there was a big day one update for this that fixed a lot of those issues? And if there was a big fix, would that have changed your score at all?
So I did try it after, the embargo lifted, and presumably the day one update would have been applied, and didn't really notice too much of a difference. The Xbox does all that stuff silently, so there's not really any indication that it had been updated if it had. But it is still pretty broken on Xbox. From what I hear from others, though, it is far less broken on the PC, so if you're going to play this thing, you should play it there. Had it not had all the bugs, I probably would have scored it somewhere in the range of a 60, which is, decent, but not fantastic. To put this in perspective for people who like survival games, I also reviewed this one earlier in the year, but I'd probably say Metal Gear Survive was slightly better.
Why was it slightly better?
God.
Like, show your work, Paul. Why specifically would that one edge out State of Decay 2?
It was less broken.
It was far less broken, and I mean, slightly more fun to play. I didn't really enjoy that one either, but yeah. Womp womp.
Okay, fair enough.
It's disappointing. I mean, at a time when Xbox needs a really good exclusive, something to get fans really jazzed about, they've got State of Decay 2. Well, wait a minute. Back up. They've got Sea of Thieves, which was, let's face it, a disappointment. I'm sure that it has many fans out there, but by and large, I know that most of our staff, including me, were disappointed with the game. It just wasn't what we'd hoped it would be. And then same thing with State of Decay. Here's another Xbox exclusive, an opportunity, a missed opportunity, which seems like it's the theme of the generation for the Xbox One. It's just one missed opportunity after another, and State of Decay 2 is yet another one of those missed opportunities. I mean, your review aside, the Metacritic average still tells you a lot. It's still in the 60s, which that's not a great average score either. Not in our industry. I think in the movie industry, if a movie's averaging in the 60s, I think that's okay, but for some reason in the video game world, our scale that we use in this industry, anything below 70 is really not great. And so, yeah, I think it's disappointing. I think it's disappointing that Xbox is, 0 for 2 this year so far?
It's really depressing that it just seems like they're bundling these things up, whether they're finished or not, and shoving them out the door because they need something. And yep. I really hope that's not the case with Crackdown and whatever else they're planning, but I get the sense that it is.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you've got, Sony's got God of War and Shadow of the Colossus. Meanwhile, Sony's just continuing their impressive run.
Mm-hmm. Did you finish God of War yet, Trev?
I did, yes. And it was, I was very close when I spoke last week, so I won't go on and on, but yeah, I enjoyed it. And it's funny as I'm sitting back thinking about what I really enjoyed, and I think it almost says something disturbing about me. But those, when you slam into an enemy, when you hit the R3 button, and you slam into an enemy and you crush his skull, I don't think there is a more satisfying thing in gaming than crunching an enemy's skull. And as I'm enjoying it so much, I'm like, man, that probably says something sick and twisted about me. But I really love that whole sort of sequence when you take down an enemy like that. But
haptic feedback is important, man. You get the visual, you get the sound of it. It all just kind of like comes together real nice, and it's visceral as fuck. It's a great sort of hat trick of a fucking technique and aesthetic that leaves you feeling, real fucking savage, and that's cool. Need more of that.
It's just glorious. I love it. I absolutely love it. And and it just, I think for me, God of War, it's my game of the year so far. I mean, we still have a long ways to go, but it edges out my other, what would have been my game of the year to date so far, which would be Far Cry 5. I think God of War, in my mind, it just slightly beats it. It's just, I find it's just more of a refined experience. Visually, it beats Far Cry 5. I think combat-wise and story-wise, it edges it out. I mean, don't get me wrong, Far Cry 5, I loved it, but God of War, I think, is my, it's my game of the year so far, and it'll be hard-pressed. I'll be very surprised if come December, when we record our game of the years, that I'm talking about another game. I just don't see myself talking about another game for game of the year.
Yeah, I think my favorite thing about God of War, which I finished this week as well, is how well they do the split between combat and the story side of things. The combat is so brutal and so visceral, like you said, smashing guys' skulls and, ripping them in half and things like that. But then the quieter moments, they did a fantastic job of developing the character of Kratos and the character of Atreus and all the other characters who are in there that I won't spoil for people. But and they really, really stick the landing. It's a really great ending, which is something that games almost always bungle. But the ending to God of War, I was like, I was on my feet, like jumping around because I was so excited by the ending.
Yeah, it was awesome. Awesome.
James, can you tell me about Fox and Forests?
I sure can. It's how do I put this? It is a very faithful reproduction of a Super NES game, for better and for worse. And I say this with actually a pretty overall positive spin on it, because it does have certain problems, like it is kind of a grind sometimes, and the difficulty is a little bit uneven, and there's certain elements of it that you can kind of like cheese your way through without too much trouble. And the controls aren't like laser precise at times, but these are all things that I remember being issues from the Super NES gaming era. And so for me, it's almost like a positive in itself that it has these kinds of problems, because it further amplifies the authenticity of this as a retro gaming experience, which I feel like a lot of companies shoot for, but never quite attain. Instead, they kind of resign themselves to produce something that reminds you of the old days, but doesn't connect with them in as meaningful a fashion as I think Fox and Forest has done.
So would this game be better or worse if they had modernized some aspects of it?
I probably would have enjoyed it a little bit more if they modernized certain things, but at the same time, I couldn't tell you specifically what they should have modernized, because I feel like that in itself is kind of a dizzy, delicate dance, and they could have just as easily fucked it up even worse if they'd not put in, or they put in the wrong kind of modern touches. Whereas by going for that authentically Super NES, Sega Genesis kind of feel, you sort of know what to expect in terms of flaws. And for me, at least, for somebody who actually grew up on Super NES games, are a bit more forgiving of them, because they come with their own sort of nostalgia.
Interesting.
Yeah, but that's pretty much all I played this week.
Well, I'm going to piggyback on that one a little bit, because the other game that I dabbled with this week is a little game called Moonlighter, which is kind of half Link to the Past and half, I don't know, Binding of Isaac, maybe?
Okay.
It's a roguelite, but you're going through these dungeons, and then when you get all your loot, you have to then sell it. And you can't just go to a merchant and say, sell all, I'll get my gold. You are, in fact, a shopkeeper. So you have to price all your items and watch the customers as they come in, and then gauge their reaction to the prices to see whether you can charge them more or less for the various items, which is kind of an interesting spin on things. And I'm not sure if that will get old over time, but so far it is quite an enjoyable experience.
I feel like that sort of mechanic, I don't know, I feel like you have to sort of be into it in the first place, but at the same time, it's really easy to suck you in, because it's like, especially if it's like well fleshed out or well realized. Like there's another game like that on Steam that's like specifically about selling items in a shop called like Reciteer and an item shop's tale or some shit like that, where like you actually have to like haggle prices with people and be like too much or not enough or what have you, and you know, it's half about the capitalism and half about the dungeoneering. And I think the fact that I can only think of one other game that's ever really done that sort of speaks to the ambitiousness of attempting such a project. But it sort of sounds like Moonlighter's pulled it off.
Yeah, I didn't actually know that was part of the game, and previously my only experience with bartering in games was Oblivion's barter minigame. So you could say I knew nothing about this, but I was pleasantly surprised that it is kind of fun to do that, and I wasn't like, you know, just grinding through and trying to sell the stuff quick to get back to the dungeoning. So yeah, that's definitely worth having a look. I believe we will have a review at some point. Yeah.
I think we'll have a video review too, if I'm not mistaken. I think that'll be a video review as well. On COGconnected.com. That's COGconnected on Facebook, COGconnected on Twitter, COGconnected on Instagram, COGconnected on YouTube. I am your company man.
Thank you very much, That was incredibly pleasant. Sorry, I'm just checking to make sure that I'm actually allowed to talk about Moonlighter. I'll have to get in touch with Sean from Evolve PR. I don't know who that is, though. So
yeah, like it's been so long. Well, I don't even know what he sounds like anymore. I just don't even know who is that guy.
He's just that guy sitting on top of the stacks of cash off in the distance, you know?
Has he been on a podcast this year? Like, I don't know. It's been so long.
Well, he's moving to Big Money Mountain, and so I don't know if they have reception up there, or they allow podcasts in that kingdom, or like how that works.
I don't think he's been on since we hit the teens in episode number. So, yeah, it's been a while.
It's been a long layoff. But we have word he sold his house, so he should be back on the pod next week, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Did anybody else play anything of note?
No, nothing major. I mean, I jumped back into Call of Duty a little bit because I have a buddy that's been playing, and it's been fun playing with him because he's quite a bit better than I am, so it's fun just kind of riding his coattails, and which gives me a better kill-death ratio than I probably am. So I've enjoyed going back into Call of Duty, especially with all the hype last week from the reveal event. So which we'll probably get to in a second here. But yeah, I've just been playing a little bit of Call of Duty while I finished up God of War, and that is about it for me.
Wow. Well, why don't we just roll right into the news?
The news.
You guys know this, but I actually did a soundbite of that. So if there ever comes a time in the future that you're not on the show, Trev, I will have the news covered.
Nice.
Mm-hmm. So this week in the news, there was the big Black Ops 4 reveal event where they did indeed confirm that there's no single player and there is Battle Royale, but they didn't really say what that is.
Well,
they kind of did. They kind of didn't, though.
Well, yeah, didn't they say it's going to be like 1,500 times larger than Nuketown? Like, this map is going to be gigantic, which could be kind of cool.
Yeah, potentially. I mean, I kind of worry that, like, the failure of other franchises or games or titles to, like, wedge in on the Battle Royale territory is going to kind of, blow up in the face of these guys. But at the same time, it's fucking COD. If anybody can do it, they can do it,
Yeah, I mean, I feel like there's a lot of hate towards the franchise every year, it seems. My God, every year the haters come out in droves, yet those same haters still buy that fucking game year after year, and it seemingly does really well, breaks records. Well, I don't know if it's broken any records in the last few years, but it's a franchise that's had an impressive run. It has a massive player base. And if anybody can do a Battle Royale mode right, it's probably them. The pedigree of the franchise. Nobody matches sort of that smooth online shooter experience like Call of Duty. Probably argue with me, but it'll be interesting. Like, I think it could be a better experience than Fortnite and PUBG. I mean, I find PUBG very hit and miss at best. So I'm really curious as to what they can do on a Call of Duty in a gigantic map with vehicles and that smooth, with those snap controls. If they can pull it off in the next Call of Duty, which I think they can. I mean, I'm disappointed there's no single player. Don't get me wrong. Like, it's kind of like that mindless summer action movie. I kind of enjoy that 6 to 8 hour romp where I can rattle off, 3 to 500 achievements in no time. Just sort of sit back, play a goofy campaign where you're jumping from one epic set piece to another. I've always kind of enjoyed that little 6 to 8 hour experience. So I'm disappointed that's gone. But at the same time, I'm very curious to see what they can do with the Battle Royale mode and how that plays out. They sure didn't show us a lot, which is disappointing. You'd think that with such a massive media event where they brought everybody out, including celebrities, to that event last week, you would think that they were going to play the Battle Royale mode, but nope, they just played some of the multiplayer modes that you'll see in Black Ops 4, which they look great. I mean, albeit looks very familiar. Looks almost the same. Which is not surprising. I mean, they're not going to reinvent the wheel. So, it's disappointing we didn't get to see that mode in action, which is kind of a surprise considering the expense to put on such an event. But hey, I guess maybe we'll see more at E3. Maybe.
I bet they wanted to show it here, but they just didn't get there. It didn't get cleaned up enough, and they didn't want people to get the wrong impression about what the finished product is going to be. But yeah, most of the internet seems like they're pretty pissed about the lack of a single player, especially when the price of the game is the same. But personally, I can't wait to dive off a flaming jet into whatever map they've cooked up for this and then immediately get sniped in the head. Like 2 seconds after you touch the ground.
It really could be a sniper's paradise, which would fucking wreck it for a lot of people. Like, I will not, if it's a mode where snipers just sort of run amok and dominate, count me out. Like, I don't want that. Like, first of all, I'm no good with the sniper rifle, and secondly, who wants to play a map? I mean, I think that's what makes Fortnite and PUBG so great, is it's not sort of a sniper dominated mode. You know what I mean?
I feel like if they end up kind of accidentally enabling that, they'll pretty quickly walk it back and make the necessary adjustments, because otherwise, it'll be really fucking unpleasant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trev, you strike me as a rocket launcher kind of guy.
Yeah, I could do that. Yeah, it's just sort of, spray and pray and just sort of like take out a sort of a square block. Yeah. I am a whatever, those kind of games, I am a whatever half decent gun I can get my hands on, right away, especially with Fortnite. I am scrambling to find a gun, and then then I spend a lot of the time hiding. I'll hide in a little closet somewhere, just waiting for someone and listening, and then trying to survive as long as I can. So usually how I approach those Battle Royale games.
And typically quite an effective one.
Yeah, hey, I don't think I've ever I've ever received a winner chicken dinner or a Battle Royale victory, but I've come close. I've come close a few times.
So before we move on to the next news story here, I just want to go back a bit and discuss State of Decay 2 a little more and share with you all some of the thoughts that people have had about my review, including such nuggets and morsels as, yo, this game is dope, period, this guy is full of shit.
Okay, fair, alright, very eloquent, great.
I'd, of course, like to point out that comment was made before the game was out, of course.
Oh, well, yeah.
Clearly. But he knew better than me, because, reasons. This is a nice one. What a whiny fucks. Give he game a chance, moron.
That's top-notch grammar right there.
It is. It really comes across nicely. And spell check definitely did not fail this person. And finally, my personal favorite, COGconnected. And that's it.
One. Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, just put a dick in the title, Put a dick in the sentence. There's no eloquent criticism that you can't make a little bit better by stuffing a few dicks in there.
Oh, that sounds like a podcast title if I've ever heard one.
That toxic gaming community, which we've talked about many a pod, they were out in full force for your review, Paul. They really were. Oh boy.
And the fanboys too. I mean, it was pretty ugly in the website's comment section, but on YouTube as well. Thankfully, YouTube catches most of those things and flags them as probably spam. So yeah, but they were out there with some pretty offensive language for each other and me, of course.
Well, it just means that you reached the people.
Oh, I reached them all right.
You spoke to the people. You're a reviewer of the people. Paul.
Oh yeah,
A reviewer of the people.
All right, so moving on with the news. Microsoft announced something weird, which is the Xbox Adaptive Controller. Did you guys see this?
Okay.
I did.
I saw the pictures, yeah.
That
cool.
is completely unexpected and totally awesome.
Yeah, I think it is. Like, I think in the trailer they had a guy that had cerebral palsy, and he was able to game effectively using this controller. So, like, hats off to Xbox for coming up with this. And I think that the marketing campaign was perfect. I think it's being well received. I think it's an awesome move. And at a time where we're kind of shitting on Xbox on one hand for the lack of exclusive and whatnot, they've managed to do this. They put together a controller that is going to be helpful for a lot of people. A lot of people with some shortcomings that can't use a regular controller can now game with all of us using this adaptive controller. So I think that's really cool. Hats off to Xbox and the team that came up with this. Bravo.
And it sounds like this thing isn't just for gaming. Like, it can be pretty flexible. You could potentially use this rig to control a variety of different things.
Oh, well.
So, yeah, that's awesome for anyone who needs or wants to use such a thing.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Up next, we've got, delays. Things have been delayed till, next year. And those things are the new Metro game, that Skull and Bones boat fighting game from Ubisoft, and Shenmue 3. All delayed till 2019.
Okay, but Shenmue 3 probably needed a little more time in the oven.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm perfectly happy that this has happened. It's just, it always happens. Why don't you guys just put your release date way out there and then move it up if you have to?
Yeah, sometimes I wonder if it's also a marketing ploy. Like, if the plan was always to release at a certain time frame, but sometimes I wonder if they do that just to generate a little bit of hype, just to get people talking about their game. Like Skull and Bones, boy. I don't think there's been any news on that game or any kind of trailer, reveal, anything since like last E3.
Yeah, so, this is literally the first I'm hearing of the game since last June.
And so I wonder if they're sort of sitting back. They see the, I guess it's too early to call it a disaster, but they see the struggles that Sea of Thieves has encountered, and they want to make sure that they're delivering an experience that's a departure from Sea of Thieves and their ship combat, and making it just a better experience. So the Skull and Bones ones doesn't surprise me. The Metro delay is a little bit disappointing, but not surprising. Like, you watch the trailers for that game, and it looks visually incredible. So it doesn't surprise me that one's being put off. But man, it sure is a trend in our industry. It seems like every game nowadays, every AAA game, gets delayed.
Yeah, because there's too many horror stories out there in recent memory of companies being like, oh, we'll just push for a release date now. And then the game violently shits the bed upon release. People find the most hilarious bugs, like in huge numbers. And they're like left there with their hat in their hands. They're like, we're so sorry. We'll patch the fuck out of this. Just please forgive us. So now they just delay.
I think arguably the hat in hand moment is funnier. So from a news perspective, I might prefer that once in a while.
Oh, yeah. But, not every studio will learn that lesson, so we'll continue to get lots of those fun little moments where companies sort of like shovel a mostly complete title out the fucking second story window and are all shocked when it fucking craters and fragments on the concrete. Christ.
What? We didn't expect that. You know, the good news is that games, in fact, are still coming out. And the one that piqued my interest this week is Vampire from the developers of Life is Strange. Don't nod. That game has gone gold, and it's coming out. And it looks pretty freaking cool.
That's out June 5th, I believe. And it really does look pretty cool. Like, I think it's got a lot of people... there seems to be some buzz with that game. So I don't know too much about it myself, other than you play as a vampire and you go around this sort of semi-open world, killing people, sucking blood. And obviously there's way more to it than that.
But does there need to be? Like, you were like, oh, you play a vampire and you murder people. I was like, well, you got my money.
Yeah, I really know nothing more than that.
Oh, and the studio is pretty cool. They do good shit. Generally.
Yes, they do. Absolutely. The Life is Strange people, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Which it'll be interesting. Like, if this is a semi-open world, Life is Strange wasn't that at all. So I'm really curious to see what these guys can do with Vampire.
Yeah, well, what about, they also did Remember Me, right?
Yep,
like,
they
that was
did.
their other title? Was that another, like, heavily story-based?
It had some more mechanics in it, and if I remember correctly, it was reasonably competent at those things, but the studio was fresh at that point.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll be curious to see what this actually plays like, but based on all the videos that they've come out with in the last little while, it seems like there's quite a narrative going on in the world. So I'd be interested to see where that goes.
Well, and I do hear there are different endings in this game, so that always piques my interest, because it's, it tells me that a game's got some serious, or should have some serious replay value if there's different outcomes for the way you play the game. So I'm hearing Vampire has different endings, so I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Freaking sweet. Just too bad that it's coming out kind of in that death zone right before E3. I guess they'll get some buzz on that the week before there, but it's probably not going to get much attention past about, I don't know, June 9th.
Yeah. Once the EA presser starts, that is game over for anything else, really.
You mean once Snoop Dogg sparks up a big fatty and plows through some World War II?
Yeah. Is that the plan? Like, is he supposed to come back and play Battlefield, I guess 5 it would be? Is he going to be on the celebrity carpet? I imagine they'll do something similar.
Oh, I sure hope so. I hope Zac Efron is there too, because my God. What a treasure trove that year was.
2016, that's right.
Dear God. And finally in the news, that game that was awful on release but has gotten substantially better and no one seems to care, No Man's Sky, it's coming to Xbox.
Yeah, I was I was sharing the news on our podcast notes. I was asking myself, does anybody care that this game is coming to Xbox? I mean, it certainly has generated a lot of hype and a lot of negativity when it was initially released, and it's definitely a different game now than it was at launch.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's coming on Xbox. Do Xbox fans really want to play this? I don't know.
You know what? This is a fucking perfect opportunity for those guys to make Xbox fans care about this. It's coming out, like July? It's the end of May now. This gives them a solid month and a bit to actually, spend some marketing dollars, assuming they have any, and build some fucking hype, man, because not only is it coming to a new console, but presumably, like you guys said, it's a completely different game than it was when it first launched. And I think if they spin it in that fashion, they're like, hey, you remember No Man's Sky and how it, sucked a little? Well, this is like Ultra Super Turbo Arcade Edition fucking 3.0 No Man's Sky, and it's coming to the system you all like. So, money.
I never played that. Did you guys play that game? I never played it. I'll be honest.
It freaking sucked when it came out. I couldn't bring myself to go back to it. I mean, it's probably a lot better now, but it was pretty rough when it came out.
I don't super have time for big, slow, measured exploration, crafting, survival sims anymore.
I'm with you. I'm absolutely with you. I don't have time for those 100, 200 hour time sucks anymore. Like, I just don't.
Yeah, I got like a job and a girlfriend and like another job. And it was just... Man.
Right.
You know what we do have time for? It's the releases of the week.
Hey-o.
Hey, yo.
What do we have for releases?
Well, we got a few things. A couple of heavy hitters, but a few smaller things that are worth mentioning as well. We've got Ancestors Legacy on the PC and Xbox One. I know nothing about this game.
I know absolutely nothing about that game as well.
Oof, it has missed me completely. I know the company, 1C company that's like publishing or whatever. I know that they've done some reasonably interesting shit in the last couple of weeks, last couple of months. But that's like about it.
Well, that's a ringing endorsement from us on Ancestors Legacy.
That's right.
Up next, we got H1Z1, because we're in Canada, on the PS4. And that's coming out May 20 yesterday.
I think we have to double check that one, because I know one of our writers was still playing the beta this past weekend. So are we sure that is coming out, that is ready? Something tells me that is not quite ready for release yet, but I would have to hit the Googles on that.
We don't really like checking facts around these parts.
No, definitely not.
That sounds like a lot of unnecessary work. We're just going to assume that it's either out and ready or not out and not ready, and either way, does anybody super duper care about this particular title?
I mean, it's probably better than State of Decay 2.
That is a kind of a low bar, but yeah.
Well, and I want to say it's one of those games that could be, that's big with the esports crowd. It seems to be that's the angle they want to take this game. But again, it's yet one of so many titles I feel I know nothing about. I think that's just right on my list as one of them.
Wasn't Battlegrounds originally an H1Z1 mod? Or am I thinking of something else?
I do not know.
It was originally a mod, although I'm not sure for which game.
Oh, no, it was a mod for Arma. That's what it was.
Right, yes.
Right, there was something else that's a mod of... I'm calling it Heezy from now on.
Yeah.
We're on the Heezy. No. Up next, Runner 3 on PC and Switch. We got a review of that, right, Trev?
We do, yes. Jason Finelli reviewed it for us, and he scored it an 88 out of 100. So
wow.
He really liked it. He liked the visuals, the core gameplay, and if you head over to our review section on COGconnected.com, you can find the Runner 3 video and all of Jason's breakdown of everything he absolutely loved about the game. I mean, he thought it was goofy, but he still fell in love with it. And it's another one of those Switch titles, a Switch indie game that scores really well. It seems like every second Switch game we are reviewing lately is scoring really well.
Excellent.
Well, there's gobs of them coming out, and a lot of them are like really reliable ports of already pretty fabulous games, and so they're gonna be good. They're gonna be good.
It is a great time to own a Switch. I'll broaden that. It's a great time to be a gamer. There's a lot of great stuff out there, and if you don't like something, there's something else you can play for sure. Up next, Pixel Ripped 1989. No idea.
Okay, this one, I did actually do some research on before I put on the release list last month. This is a weird-ass VR title where you, in VR, you're playing this child who's trying to sneak playing an old handheld game while in class and while in school and while in other situations where maybe you shouldn't be fucking around playing an old school handheld game. So it's like a basic 2D game experience inside of a 3D VR world. So like a fully submersive, hey, you're 9 years old and what the fuck are you doing on your Game Boy? You should be paying attention in math class. Don't make me take the thing away from you. The principal's going to hear about this.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's like wild.
It's like Child Job Simulator.
Yeah.
2 more releases on the list. One of those being Dark Souls Remastered.
Yeah. Oh, that's a big one. Yeah, that's just a lot of excitement for that one.
Yep. You can finally play this game the way it should have been in functioning, working order.
Yeah. Well, apparently,
oddly enough, we're getting a retail copy of that game, so I should be getting that pretty quick, and then I have to turn around and fire that off in the mail to somebody who's looking to cover that for us. But strange. I'm so used to getting codes now that when I receive a retail copy of a game, it always catches me off guard. I'm like, whoa, what is this? 2013?
Yeah.
Whoa, I'm in the digital age.
Maybe they want you to review the box and the art, and they're like, look at how fancy this shit is.
So I can't remember.
One player.
I'd have to check and see who we got. I know there was a lot of people, a lot of writers that put up their hand for that one. So our review will not be out release day, unfortunately, but we will have a review.
We will take the time, play it proper,
yes,
go through it, and give you a comprehensive, delicious, crunchy, full-flavored review experience for Dark Souls Remastered.
I'm interested what's going to be crunchy about it. But finally, we've got Detroit Become Human. May 25th.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited to play this because I kind of, masochistically love David Cage games. They're just so bizarre and, disconnected from reality.
Yeah, I don't know. This one's not really... I don't have a hankering to really play it. I guess I have to... maybe I have to watch more. Maybe I have to check... Erin's reviewing it for us, so I'm curious to see what she says. I don't know. I'm just not that excited for this one, but I probably will pick it up. It's just too high profile not to.
Visually, it's pretty stunning. The facial animations and the characters are phenomenally well done. So, potentially worth it even just for that and some of the, detective work. If the demo is anything to go by, that stuff was pretty cool visually. So I don't know how deep it goes, but I don't know. I was curious enough to want to play it.
Yeah, love him or hate him, David Cage has a really definitive, distinct sort of like particular style that he's really fucking buckled down on to like sort of perfect, I guess, over the last decade or so.
Mm-hmm. And that's it. If you don't like something on that list, there's probably 583 games coming out tomorrow on Steam. You can pick up one of those.
I mean, like at least 200 or 300 are probably
per second coming out on Steam. All of them impossible to find, and the PR even more difficult to track down.
Yeah, I find it more. It's as time goes, it's just so difficult to stay on top of every single game that comes out, and then not only that, but then we're often determining, okay, well, should we be reviewing this game, or should we not be reviewing this game? What does the audience want to hear about? What don't they want to hear about? So, yeah, it feels like there's 20 new games every week, and we are trying to pick the ones that people care about, and yeah, I can make it a challenge for us for sure.
Yeah, the real trick is trying to figure out which ones are going to be those hidden gems and which ones are total dog shit and not worth touching. So it's a tough time to be a reviewer, and James is probably going to have nightmares about that tonight. I'm sorry.
It's okay. I mean, I'll probably not have too many, but maybe some, maybe a lot, maybe a bunch, maybe several in a row. Maybe I'll never sleep again. Thanks, Paul.
You're very welcome anytime, buddy. And with that, we're going to move on to the perfect list.
The perfect list.
I got to soundbite that one too now.
We have a bit of a unique list this week, I think. It's a little bit, we're going a little bit outside the box.
Yeah, this one we actually discussed briefly before the show, and that's because it's going to be of use to a lot of people, unlike our usual lists, which are borderline nonsense at the best of times.
A hot pile of nonsense, like we had in episode 17.
Yes.
That's right.
So this week we're going to come up with 10 perfect tips for the E3 noobs. So all you gamers out there that are going to E3, maybe it's your first time, we're going to give you some tips on what you should do, what you shouldn't do, and yeah, I think between us, we've probably been to a few too many E3s, so...
Yes. Yeah, we've been to a few. Well, and these tips will be helpful to Judy and Michael, who will be attending their first E3 for COGconnected this year. So they are E3 noobs that should be paying attention right now to these perfect tips.
There will be a test, or else we will revoke any of your good appointments and give you only the worst shit we can possibly sign you up for.
That is correct, which is usually held in like a seedy part of LA at a Motel 6. So, yeah, if you don't listen up here, you're going to the Motel 6, Judy and Michael. So I hope you're listening.
That is, that's way too real for comfort. That's actually how it is. Oh boy. Trev, do you want to go first? You got the most experience.
Oh yes. Well, I think back to my first E3 and when I was an E3 noob, and I decided on my first day, it was a hot day. It was hot in LA at the time, and I thought, well, I should wear shorts and I should wear a t-shirt and I should wear sandals. Like, and here, you know, I'm not the like, and I've always been a big bone fella. So yeah, I decided to wear sandals to my first E3, and that was such a mistake. I just wanted to die at the end of the day. So the first critical tip is to wear comfortable shoes. And if you are not going to wear comfortable shoes, get yourself some like Dr. Scholl's insole, some kind of like memory foam insole for your shoes so that your feet can be comfortable. You are on your feet all day long, all night long, and believe me, they are barking by the end of the day. Comfortable shoes should be at the top of your list. That is my first perfect pick.
Well, right. I mean, that should be obvious, but apparently it's not. So,
not to Mr. Sandal Boy here.
Mr. Fancy Pants out in LA, you know, with his sandals.
Gonna put on my slides.
Yeah.
I can go next, and this one should also be obvious. And that is wash your damn self.
Yes. Don't be a stinky.
I can confirm for everyone, even people I'm sure in the area surrounding the LA Convention Center can confirm that by Wednesday morning, the stank is thick. It is thick and green and nasty. So wash your damn self if you're coming to the show.
Oh, yeah, and you will walk around on Thursday and you'll walk by some guys with their BO is so fucking bad it'll knock you over. And you'll be like, holy fuck, dude. Like, oh my God, you are rank. So, yes, shower up. Shower up.
James, what do you got, buddy?
I'm gonna go with Beware the Con Cold. Okay, now last year I shook a lot of hands. I met a lot of people. I saw a lot of things. By day 2 of the show proper, I was dying. Okay, I was sick as a fucking dog, and I had to do more interviews and more appointments, and meet with people, and I had to like blow out my fucking nose beforehand, like load up on drugs, and just like psych myself up in the fucking bathroom mirror, and like kind of like pretend that I wasn't walking around with the fucking bone plague. So yeah, bring like echinacea or like Advil cold and sinus or like some sort of daytime shit or some sanitizer. Just people are gonna bring their terrifying diseases from all over the world, and you don't want any of that shit.
Best practice after touching any surface at E3 is to, in fact, douse your arms up to your elbows in gasoline and light up, burn them off.
Yeah. I mean, like at least the first 2 to 7 layers of skin. Just you don't need it that much. It'll hurt for a second. You'll be fine.
That's true. Mr. Houston.
My next tip is going to be, again, kind of an obvious one, but it's not. I find, especially in the media, you are on your feet all day. You are racing from one appointment to the next, and you will go long stretches without any food or drink. So this tip's twofold. One, if you go to an appointment or you're going to a booth where there's any kind of drink or food, you take it, you ingest it immediately. Or my tip being, pack yourself some snacks, whether it be like protein bars, granola bars, whatever. Pack snacks. You'll thank me later, because you will go long stretches without eating, and your stomach will be eating itself, and you'll be happy that you have that shitty little Walmart granola bar in your knapsack that you'll be able to haul out. That will just that will tide you over. So yeah, so that's my next tip. Bring snacks.
An excellent tip. As all veterans know, if there's free food anywhere, you pack as much of that.
Pounce.
Just
Pounce.
Get it in your face as much as
like
possible.
Like a fucking squirrel, Yes.
Like,
oh, thanks so much. So appreciate this so much. Don't mind my distended cheeks and the thin trail of drool. I'm just preparing for the next appointment.
Honest to God, if there's like sort of a shitty indie game, and they're like, yeah, we got this indie game, and we got food and drink here, so come and check out our game. Fuck yeah, we're all in. On our way.
Oh yeah, no, you couldn't keep me out the fucking door. No,
oh fair. God, yeah, like you're gonna give us that when we need fuel to make it through that week. Yeah, we'll go check out your game. No problem.
My next tip is possibly targeted a little more at the gaming audience as opposed to the media, because when you're at the show, there's going to be lineups. There's lineups for everything, and they're big, freaking long lineups. So if there's something you really want to play, you're going to have to line up for a good couple of hours if you want to play it. So the tip is this: do not, under any circumstances, line up for anything that is out or is coming out soon. Don't bother. Get in the line for that thing that's happening at the end of the year, and you really want to be the first one of your friends to play Mario Odyssey or Breath of the Wild or, Horizon Zero Dawn a couple of years ago. Whatever it is, get in that line. Don't line up for PUBG. You can play PUBG. Don't line up for it.
Don't line up for COD.
You got to be better than that. Come on.
Yeah.
Well, and for some reason, the Nintendo lines, year after year, the Nintendo lineups are always the longest and most insane. So if there's a Nintendo game on your list that you need to check out, you need to get your ass at E3 outside that entrance door as early as possible, and then you need to sprint to the Nintendo booth to avoid that gigantic line that always seems to wrap around that Nintendo booth year after year after year.
And they always have a super rad booth, so it's worth
amazing.
Getting inside there. I remember a couple years ago when their booth was the Breath of the Wild thing. They literally had real live grass on the ground all over the place. Like, what?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
pretty
because they want to make it worth it. But again, like, why was the lineup for COD like 3 hours long? Why was that?
Yeah. Oh,
Why?
the bros. The
Well, it
bros
was
gotta
played-
play.
You've played COD. You've played many COD. You will play many COD.
Wait, whoa. I mean, last year it was World War II, and they'd never done that before. So that was what it was last year.
No, definitely not 4 to 6 times in the late 90s, early 2000s did they ever do World War II.
I mean, most of the population that's playing COD was not actually alive at that point, so, you know. Who's next? James?
James is up.
Okay, sure. We've covered shoes and colds and yourselves and your snacks and your lines. If you're traveling from a great distance to be here, which you probably are, because who actually lives in LA besides everybody, there might be swag, so leave some room in your suitcases, because sometimes people like to give shit away, and that's always rad.
Hell yeah. Yeah, there's always some good swag, whether it be a goblet or a t-shirt or a lid or some sort of figure. Yeah, there's always some sort of swag at E3, and I find that when they open the doors to the public, there's more swag. So you can count on publishers like Bethesda and Warner Brother having some sort of shirt for the latest game that they're going to profile. So if I was to make a prediction, I'm pretty sure you'll see a Rage 2 shirt on the show floor at E3. You heard it here first.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And the other thing on that front is that a lot of the console manufacturers for sure actually have been selling stuff in the last couple of years. So, I mean, there's been a PlayStation store in the past, and they've had some pretty neat stuff, some pretty unique gear. Yes. And Microsoft is doing the same this year. So, yeah.
Yeah, you usually outside of E3 or inside, you can buy some pretty cool gaming t-shirts, even the E3 booths themselves. I mean, I bought my wife a pretty cool E3 hoodie one year that she still wears, and it looks a really good design. It's not as tacky or geeky as you think it would be. It looks really, really slick. So yeah, even the E3 merch booths are worth checking out.
Trevor Houston. Pick number 3.
My next bit of advice, my next tip is to bring mints or gum, especially media folk. There's nothing worse than walking up to a PR rep or a PR rep walking up to you and, saying, "Hi, Trevor." And it's just like a wave of stench from their breath knocks you over. So bring mints, bring gum, throw them in your pocket, throw them in your knapsack. Keep that breath fresh, because you will be talking to people all day long. You'll be talking to devs, you'll be talking to publishers, you'll be talking to other fans, and even that's good advice for the public. Just keep that breath fresh. So yeah, bring mints, gum, do it.
Again,
yeah, let's not.
It seems simple, but it isn't. It never is.
No.
Right, for my last pick, I'm actually going to suggest something that's not inside the convention center, and that is the sun. Please exit the building and go outside and see the sun. Regain perspective about what you've seen, about that line, about that jerk who cut you off. Go outside and look at the sun, and stare right at it, burn your eyeballs out first, and then enjoy its warmth and feel the radiant glow of Mother Nature on your skin. Be a human being. Once again. There you go.
Yeah, I can understand that. You're in the convention space. You're in that hall packed with, I don't know, like 60,000 humans, and you kind of lose yourself a little bit. You kind of go insane. So it's great to get out into the world where the air moves, and there's regular non-convention civilization, and kind of recalibrate.
Yeah. Mr. Paley.
Okay. Let's see. We have the shoes, coats, self, snacks, lines. I think the next really important thing that you want to remember, well, for myself and for media people, is to, be prepared. There's going to be like 50,000 of us going to this thing. And last year was my first ever E3, and I was not prepared sufficiently for a lot of things. I had appointments coming at me hot and heavy, overwhelming me, blowing my brains out, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't have notes. I didn't have ideas. I didn't have an understanding of maybe not all of the games that I was being shown. Sometimes I would walk to an appointment and be like, here's the thing you can play. And I'm like, cool, but what is this? And you don't want that. It's bad. That's bad.
That is good advice that we cannot reinforce enough. Be prepared. Even just knowing where you're going. I find, it took me a few years to get like the handle of the layout. When you're like, oh, you got to go to a South Hall conference room 305B, and you're walking or you're heading towards South Hall, and you're like, wait a minute, I don't think I'm in the right area at all. Just sort of getting your bearings of where everything is at. That can take some time, no question. And yeah, those damn COG schedule makers aren't always the most kindest, so you will have an appointment in the West Hall, and then you'll be in the South Hall, and then you'll be across the street, and then you'll be at the Hotel Fig. So yeah, you will be all over the place.
I was definitely late for my first appointment last year.
Well, yeah, because there's usually lineups outside the door.
Yeah.
So almost everyone's late for that first one.
Well, you made it out, and we're bringing you back again, so I guess you did an okay job.
Huzzah!
Trevor, hit us up with the final nugget of information.
I feel like I'm missing a bunch, so I'm going to throw out a few that I think we might not have touched on. Well, actually, we did. We did sort of touch on hand sanitizer, sort of the whole like being aware of the con cold. Part of preventing the con cold is using hand sanitizer at every opportunity. So definitely wanted to get that out. Another one I wanted to get out there was to avoid the Starbucks line. Everybody's going to read that, the LACC has one, maybe two. I think they have two Starbucks in there. But you know what? You're going to want to avoid that because the lines are ridiculous. So don't even think about going to Starbucks. But one that is very important for me, especially when you're brutally hungover, is finding quiet washrooms. And I like to attack those washrooms upstairs in the concourse in between the two big halls, and they're nice and quiet and they're clean. So if you have to throw up, which there has been a COG staff or two that have had to throw up because they indulged a little bit too much the night before, those are good washrooms to use. There aren't many people that'll be mocking you and laughing at you as you are praying to the porcelain gods. And likewise, if you ate something that just isn't sitting well and you have to hit a washroom lightning fast, those washrooms up there in between the two halls are great. So my advice is, finding quiet, clean washrooms are those ones upstairs in between the two halls. You'll thank me later.
Yeah, once in a while, a staffer has been known to engage in a little too much self-delight, if you could put it that way, And, there have been missed appointments because they were speaking to God on the porcelain telephone,
I would be lying if I didn't miss an entire afternoon one day of appointments because I was just so brutally hungover and destroyed from the night before. So E3 will do that to you, believe me. Yep.
Laugh it up, Chuckles. It's your turn this year.
Well, James indulged himself at Bethesda last year, that's for sure.
Oh,
right. Yeah.
Well, I think we all did.
Yes.
Well, that'll do it for the perfect list. That's 10 perfect tips for E3 noobs. Rewind, listen to them again. Don't forget. And
Do not forget.
as always, be kind to your fellow humans while you're at a show such as this. Remember, everybody is there for the same reason, and that's to have fun. So be good to each other. And with that, that's going to bring us to the end of this quick Powercast. Just hammering it out.
Who would have thought that an hour and what are we at? Almost an hour and 10 or so. That this would be a quick cast. I remember when we talked about doing podcasts, we're like, we got to keep it under an hour. I don't think we've been under an hour yet. So
no, it's not possible. We got too much to say. Brains are
just
too
a lot of
big.
things. A lot of things.
There are a lot of things.
Guys, have any nuggets of wisdom you want to share before we sign off?
Buy God of War if you haven't, and if you own a PS4 and you haven't yet, what are you waiting for? Go buy God of War.
Absolutely. There's, it's probably the best game on PS4.
Ooh, yeah.
If not the best, it's right up there. It is right
Absolutely.
up there.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So until next time, this has been Press X the Podcast, episode 18 for the week. That's a couple weeks before E3. We can't remember the days anymore because it's too busy. And until next time, take care of yourselves and throw us a like on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And thank you very much for listening. But we'll be back into the emails next week when Mr. Sean Petraschuk returns to the cast in fine, glorious form. I'm sure he's built up a lot of thoughts in the last 2 months or whatever he's been away.
So many
Reunited and it feels so good. Isn't that the song? Right?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Peace out.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.